I've been developing Facebook apps for, well, since about 2 months after the platform was out back in 2007. So I've probably got about 20, 30 apps live at the moment. I have about 20,000 users a day using my games at the moment. The reason this talk is titled The Indie Developers and the Facebook of Doom is because there's been a lot of mutterings, especially from smaller developers, around the changes to the platform and the way things have been going over the past 6 months, year, and just a general decline in opportunities for smaller developers. And how does this look for someone who's not a Zynga or Electronic Arts and doesn't have a few million to spend on an ad budget? So what can an independent developer expect from the coming year? If you're looking to build games on Facebook, what's going to happen? Well, we have to look at the story so far. How do we get to where we are? And I've kind of split it into 3 episodes because I'm taking the Indiana Jones theme very, very far at the moment. We had our pioneering debut in 2007, 2008 when Facebook launched the platform. Everything was fresh. 2008, 2009 was more the difficult sequel. People started to try and find their feet. Was it going to make any money or was it not? What kind of apps are we going to build? 2009 to 2010 is where we are now. We're seeing increased maturity. We're seeing much more quality in games. But what's going to come next? Is it just going to be the lame cash-in 4th title? Is everybody just going to be making money, but it's not actually going to be that interesting? The pioneering debut was all about viral growth, poke apps. People were turning themselves at each other into vampires. Developers were trying to work out how to make money out of these things. They might have 2 million users and be making almost no money. They'd be paying more on hosting costs or just not really know how to place their ads or how to monetize. The ads apps were generally quite low quality, so they'd be very text-based, HTML. Send your friend a 16 by 16 pixel GIF, and that was the highlight of your day on Facebook. But they had novelty value, and the users were fresh, so users would take onto everything. I built an app called Which Vegetable Are You, which looked at your profile and told you you are broccoli or you're a cabbage, and had a funny little description, and that was all it did, and it took me 4 hours. And for about 2 months, I got 3,500 users a day with that one. So I made about 10 more of a similar theme, but users just had it because it was just new. A year later, the difficult sequel time, people were starting to get a bit jaded by some of these viral channels, getting invites from everyone. Something called Mafia Mob Wars Mob Wars first took off, and people started seeing that you could actually make money from these Facebook apps. Dave Maestri managed to crack the code quite early on with Mob Wars, and reportedly, according to Contangent, who are an analytics company making $1 million a month for quite some time, this started attracting people's attention. So by mid-2009, summer last year, basically everyone was talking about building social games, trying to get into it, building Mob Wars, Mafia clones, anything that could get users paying for virtual currency. Since then, over the past year, we've seen Facebook tending towards more redesigns where there is less viral growth, so there's no invites, as Iskander said earlier, there's notifications going away very soon. It's much harder to get your app visible to users because the users are getting fed up with it and Facebook wants to keep their users happy. But we're also seeing an increase in game quality. The likes of Farmville and Farmtown, whatever you think of them, are much higher quality games in terms of their presentation and their development than something that's on the platform 2.5 years ago. Zynga's even experimented with kind of full 3D games. We're seeing big name entries into the market. So Ubisoft came in producing games. And we've seen EA last year bought Playfish for supposedly 300 million plus, potentially another 100 million or so in earn-outs. You know, this is attracting some big attention after 2 years ago when everyone was saying developers are being conned into making apps on Facebook, they're not making any money. The Mob Wars growth has shown that you can make money and everyone's starting to get in there. So it's just the past few months have been the rise of the Farmtowns, the Farmvilles, and I know it's a different franchise, but the Attack of the Clones. So where does the indie developer stand? It kind of looks like the indie developer's up against it. We've got limited, if you're a 1 or 2 man band, you've got limited access to resources. Facebook, as Iskander said, we don't get access to Facebook credits early. We don't get told what's going to happen with the roadmap. Facebook might talk to Zynga, they talk to Playfish, they talk to a few of those developers, but we're not going to hear about it quite as quickly. The platform is much less viral, so you have to spend money to acquire users. And frankly, with a 2 or 3 man team, you're not going to match the quality of Electronic Arts and Playfish together with their 800 employees. So does that mean that this next year is the year of the lame cash-in 4th episode? Big gaming companies dominating. You've got EA coming, Ubisoft producing games, Zynga is huge, Playdom have been big on Facebook and MySpace for a long time. Crowdstar, quite a new gaming company, but are already very big with Happy Aquarium, Happy Island. Smaller developers trying to compete on ad spend. Zynga are reportedly spending $1 million a week on Facebook ads to drive traffic to Farmville, which is how they grew it in 2 weeks in to huge user base in record time. Smaller developer is not going to have access to that amount of money to draw traffic in. And also, as I said, you can't compete on quality in terms of graphics and development time. Zynga's got 800 plus people, has opened offices in India recently. And we've got existing game brands with Electronic Arts buying Playfish. Are we going to see The Sims and SimCity come to Facebook? No signs of it yet, but we do know that Civilization is coming out. Sid Meier's Civilization has been an epic game for years. If that comes to the platform, that's not something that a two-man team is going to compete with. So it kind of looks fairly bad for the independent developer at the moment. So how do you fight the big guns? Well, there's nothing really says that the big gaming companies know how to build these games on Facebook. If they're investing big money, if you're spending money on 800 people, you need to make a lot of money back from that. I've highlighted here, this is a graph from a game that Electronic Arts produced before they acquired Playfish, Spore Islands, based on the Spore PC game, which wasn't, I'd say, hugely successful, but a lot of gamers knew it. It's currently floating around 2,500 daily active users, which is less than at least 2 of my games at the moment. And I imagine there's never made back the money that they spent advertising it, let alone the money they spent developing it. So 2010, this is my prediction. This is going to be the year of boom and bust. There's going to be a lot of companies are rushing into the space at the moment, but I think there's going to be a lot of very kind of bad press towards the end of the year. People who've invested money are not getting their payoff. The result of user blindness and reduced virality, but also users getting fatigued with some of the offer system and the virtual goods. Okay, playing Farmville, Farmtown. How many kind of virtual worlds can you maintain at the same time? How many kind of personalized spaces are you going to invest your $5 per month in? There's going to be some saturation. How many credit cards can you fill out to earn this virtual currency? And I think by the middle of next year, first part of next year, I think we'll possibly see a lot more negative press around people who've invested 30 million in a gaming company, not made anything back from Facebook. It's going to be seen as possibly being something much emptier than the optimism that's there now. So there's actually opportunities for the independent developer here, choosing where to fight your battles. You can't fight against Zynga, you can't fight against Electronic Arts, but you can challenge some of the assumptions. Does increasing quality mean increasing complexity? Do people on Facebook want to play Civilization in the form that it was in, or do they want to play SimCity? Farmtown and Farmville are much simpler games. Zynga might seem to have this cracked anyway. A lot of gaming companies who are coming to Facebook are possibly making the assumption that users will become more complex, more experienced with gaming, and their expectations will increase. Is that necessarily true? People still play Solitaire on the PC and have done for years and play Minesweeper. Those games are there because people just want to play a very easy game to pick up. Is this thing going away? I wrote my first computer game and sold it 20 odd years ago. At that time, the bedroom coder was apparently dead, and no 2 or 3 man band was going to be able to compete with fully fledged gaming companies. The bedroom coder's been busy all this time and doing the same things and still making quite a lot of money out of it. So these are my 5 tips for how you might kind of get through this tricky situation. Well, one is go niche. Don't try and compete with Farmville. You're not going to produce the mass market virtual world because you can't produce enough animated GIFs per day or whatever to keep users happy. Look for an audience that isn't really big enough for someone with 30 million to spend to make any money. Why would they go after something where you've got 1 million users? They need 70 million users or 30 million users to make their money back. And the other side is create something in a game that isn't easy to replicate. Farmville came very, very quickly after Farmtown, because Farmtown was plant your crops, go away, and come back a few days later and you harvest them. It's quite easy to replicate that mechanic and improve on it. If you put something in a game which, okay, maybe the audience isn't big enough and the game is too complex to replicate, then no one's going to really bother.